was an oops. Here we go.
But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
With the rockets or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. They were too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
So you said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1 0 1 1 1 0 1 1 6
Doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Well, good evening. Welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I am your host, Michael Strange. And I am here with your co-host, Frank Pierce. And we would like to say hello to all of you who might also have troubled minds. We are recording this show live, per usual. If you'd like to be on the show, the number to call is 702-957-1037. One more time, that's 702-957-1037. Call on in, we'll put you on the stream. We can talk about all the great things we're talking about tonight. If you'd like to be on the show with Discord, we have a link in the Facebook stream, which will, if you jump in, follow the instructions in the queue there, and we'll put you on the show. So, yeah, there you go. So, kind of been exciting. Good stuff, good times. If you guys are new, a little brief intro here. We started this show because we loathe how the government, academia, major corporations, those types of guys, we just don't dig how they're the arbiters of truth in the modern age. There's so many, as proved by you guys when you guys come and listen and make really smart comments. There's a lot of intelligent people out there, unique individuals with constant access to, say, audio, video, other types of technology. So why would we leave it to the big three, the government, academia, and major corporations, to tell us what's real? I think we can actually make up our mind for ourselves. So again, that's why we did this show. We think that typical radio talk show is expected to have credentials and maybe a UFO blog or some kind of actual some credentials to contribute, but we think that's unnecessary. We think we like the idea of a crowdsourced show. We like the idea of you guys calling in and making comments. So again, that's why we do that. If you're new to this, that's what we're doing. And so In this show, Frank and I take the role of concerned citizens, asking questions, and as such, we fight back against a complicit and even deceptive media that, as you guys can see, they politicize every single topic, and all the while forgetting what's most important to us, what's most important to you, the things that we actually care about. So, we're new, but we have covered a wide range of topics so far. So we're trying to paint that broad spectrum of starting canvas here, so we can kind of cover a lot of things as we go on. But we've talked about all kinds of things, including, but not limited to, of course, because we reserve the right to broaden the spectrum as necessary. But we talked about conspiracy theory, of course, UFOs. We've talked about life on other planets. Talked about Mars and the moon, the paranormal, of course, time travel. We touched on the Illuminati not too long ago, and artificial intelligence. And if you guys are used to the show, you'll know that we also touch on a lot of kind of offbeat and interesting news, let's say. I think that's the best way to put it. So about to get to our boy here, but before that, let's do a couple shout outs. Jose gets the first. What's up, man? Tim, he says, I always thought they were gray. Thanks for showing up, Tim. And Ramiro gets the heart eyes. I think he loves us, Frank. I think he loves us. Thanks for showing up, guys. There's your shout outs real quick, and move on here. So if you're new to the show, welcome aboard. And what we're going to do is, per usual, we're going to go through some news stories like we always do, and then we'll get into a topic. So typically we dive deep into these topics and kind of look at some of the mythology, some of the folklore, and we let's say we devour, we ransack, we storm the castle, we ask questions about that topic, and that's why you guys are here. That's why we appreciate you being here, and we'd like you guys to ask questions with us. So with that said, we're going to do cryptozoology tonight, so that's the topic. So if you guys are interested in that stuff, fantastic. We've got some stuff for you. But before we get to that, this is always my favorite part of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, your co-host, Frank Pierce.
Well, hello, I'm Frank Pierce. So, I think my co-host is kind of covered up. That's what's on my mind today. I think he's covered most things already, but yeah, we have troubled minds, so we dig into the history documents, we look at the old newspapers, we go to the library sometimes to dig up old books, and of course we look at the internet, we watch the news, we even read some religious texts from time to time. All in the search of information, all in the search of cleansing our troubled minds. There's so much out there that's just doesn't make sense. And the way it's being explained by the mainstream media makes even less sense. There's so many problems out there that I think could be solved through a very simple thing, and that's transparency. Like, if the media was willing to ask questions to the government, to police forces, to scientists, if they were just willing to ask questions, we would get answers, and that would clear up a lot of the issues that we see on a daily basis, a lot of these inconsistencies, a lot of this lack of information. And that's what we're here to do, is we're here to ask questions of each other and of you and learn as much as we can. So that's the show, and I think we'd be doing it anyway, even if no one was watching. So with that said, let's get into it.
I think you're right. We'd probably be doing it in some form anyway. This stuff is great to talk about, but yeah. Good point. So we got some news, right? You want to do your news? What do you got first?
Yeah, let me jump. Okay, pull up this CNN article. And, when they first announced the Space Force, I was kind of ambivalent. I was kind of, I didn't really think anything would come of it. But the more and more details that have been coming out, the more and more I seem to like it. It does seem to be a good idea to train people to work in space, to collect together engineers and astronauts and scientists to think about these topics and to start the progress forward. What with the advent of, Elon Musk and his reusable rocket, they've cut the cost to go to space by nearly 10 times, right? So it's getting cheaper and cheaper every day. And eventually, all the countries in the world are going to adapt to that technology and get up there. And thinking about it that way, the idea of the Space Force is incredibly important. It's incredibly, incredibly important because I think we talked about this a few times already, but if you control the orbital space, if you have a moon base, all you need to do is drop rocks on whoever you don't like, and they'll go away. And rocks are cheap, right? So China's raising an army, drop some rocks on them. Or America's raising an army, drop some rocks on them. You know, China's trying to shoot an intercontinental ballistic missile at the United States. Well, just drop some rocks on the missile, and it'll go away. So this idea of the Space Force, of being up there to protect space and to keep it free, I think is incredibly important. And anyone who thinks about it for more than 2 seconds, I think should come to the same conclusion that we have to be up there. We have to prevent some kind of dictatorship from taking over. And that's a big rant. I haven't even got to the story yet. But basically, CNN is the enemy of the people. And I say that because apparently, looking at CNN here, they don't agree with me. They think the Space Force is a terrible idea. And I honestly think they're propagandizing the American people with this kind of coverage. So this article says that CNN conducted a CNN national poll, and they concluded that 37% of people think that America should establish a Space Force. And we've seen some various numbers, like I think we looked at a story the other day that said 28% of people think that we shouldn't conduct a Space Force. But now here CNN is saying that 67% of people don't agree. So that's a majority. And they're trying to slam this whole idea. And I think this is honestly propaganda. This is why Trump says that CNN and fake news is the enemy of the people, because looking at this news article, this is horrifying. What are we going to be? Where are we going to be 100 years from now? Are we still going to be on the planet fighting with each other? Like, that's kind of a sad existence. That's kind of a sad future. I think we need to take what we have now and get off and start exploring. And that'll make everything better.
Yeah, heading toward that Star Trek type future where you know people have stopped fighting with each other, and we've kind of decided to work together and move into space, and you know, maybe find some other worlds we can kind of watch over and be like the benevolent types that show up and we're good guys instead of the alien bad guys. But yeah, so it you know, a CNN poll, if you rewind to the not too distant future, they're just not that accurate. I mean, they stack the deck, and you know, for whatever political purpose they want, of course. What are they going to do? You know, they're going to say, "Oh, nobody wants this crap because the president's talking about it." Shocker, right? I'm pretty sure 90% of their articles on their whole damn site say something to this effect. But this is just one more stab at something we think is important, the Space Force. We talk a lot about it because it's where we need to head as humans. We need to become the aliens. We need to become the explorers. We need to become the folks who get past you know, fighting over trees and rocks and whatever we have here on Earth, and start looking at the trees and rocks in space. And if you don't know there's trees on space, well, look at our Mars show. But I don't think.
I think you made a very good point. I just want to jump in on that. Is that I think CNN here is biting off their nose to spite their face. They probably want a Space Force, but they hate Trump so much. They just hate him so much that they're trying to push against the idea. So they're spiting all of us just to get back at Trump. That's what it seems to me, based on this poll that shows a record low number of approval for this Space Force idea. They're really just trying to spite everything just to get back at him.
Yeah, this came up in a conversation I was having with a friend of mine, and I said straight up that CNN would sink the entire ship just to bring down the captain at this point. Like, they could give a damn how big the fire is that they set. They just want to bring it all down. They don't care. Like, the cost to them is worth the reward, which is bringing down the captain. So, whatever. I mean, screw those guys. Fake news, politics, flip-flop, left, right, red, blue. Bunch of assholes, if you ask me. I'm not even going to say, excuse my language. Okay, any more on this one, Frank? I'm going to jump to the next one.
No, that's it. Yeah, but I think we really do need to support this idea, because some of the details they've released, I find it incredibly compelling and well thought out.
Yeah, well, it's definitely the direction we need to head. You know, worrying about dictators and you know, people shooting nukes at each other is, you know, so 50 years ago. Let's get over that shit already. Okay, so another new, more of this. We don't know what the hell's going on out there. So this one I pulled up off of BGR.com, and they're talking about how the Earth doesn't have one moon. The Earth has many moons. You guys heard this one? So we know all the things that are out there, right? Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought when I read this. Like, what the hell? Are you kidding me? So I mean, we're expected to believe what's going on here, and expected to believe that the things they tell us are what's actually happening. But here we are. I mean, many moons. Okay, what they're really talking about are like little, fragmentary asteroids that kind of float in and then get caught in Earth's gravitational field, maybe do one loop or two, and then get shot back out into space. That's what we're talking about. But again, like we're scanning the sky constantly in nearly every single country in the world. So, do we? How do we not know this? How is this a new thing? Like this is something so simple, so basic. Like we have assets in space. We have satellites. We have the International Space Station. How do we not know that this is a thing until what is this dated? August 16th, 2018. Which check your calendars. That's today. What the hell? Seriously? So okay, so not only do we have the one moon everybody's seen. We did a whole show on the moon. But now we have many moons. Many moons, let's say. If you want a real tongue twister. But what'd you think, Frank, when you saw this one? Like, what the hell? Again, NASA. Like, really? We're just figuring this shit out. This is ridiculous.
I think it's more the same thing that we've seen for quite a while now, is that these governments and space agencies go into things thinking they know the answer already. They think they know that there's no bacteria on Mars, so they don't include on the rover an attachment that can identify bacteria. And we saw that story a while back. So they don't think there's any more than one moon, therefore they never discover more than one moon, except by accident. They don't think there's water on the moon, so they don't discover it until just this past year. So I think their bias is getting in the way. They don't expect to find these things, and so they don't find them. And they make that their worldview, that there is only one moon and that these extra small moons that come by are not even real.
Yeah, and if we have these things that are getting, slingshotted back out into space, what if it's a little bit heavy, or maybe approaches at a little bit of the wrong trajectory and comes into the atmosphere? We're talking about like some dangerous business, right? Like you said, throwing rocks on people. Like this is exactly what this is, and we're figuring this out today. This article came out today, and this explains some of the things, like Russia a couple years ago, where they had that big one with knocked windows out. Like I've said for a very long time, if it's a little bit bigger and we miss it, we're talking about major damage. You hit a big city, major damage. So just unbelievable that we're still like the one of the most basic things is protect the Earth from falling rocks, right? You think that was the most basic thing of like a space research agency, and no. I mean,
let me jump in there. If I had to bet money on climate change ending humanity in some way, or an asteroid coming by and ending humanity in a gigantic earth-shattering explosion, if I had to bet money on one or the other, which would be the real problem, which would, cause us to go to extinction, I would bet all my money on the asteroid over climate change. What do we hear about all the time? Climate change, climate change, climate change. But I would bet my money on the asteroid being the real issue.
I don't think it's even close. You bring it up. I shared you an article. We don't have it here, but we got a call. Major damage. Wait, we got a call. Hold on. Okay, Kayla's calling in. Well, yeah, let's put this call on. I think we're talking about the stuff here. All right, here we go. Wait, call coming in. Kayla, you're on with Mike and Frank. Kayla, you there? Interesting. Okay, so the call dropped. All right. So anyway, it interesting. All right. It like actually call screen. It actually typed in the topic they wanted to talk about, and then when I put them on, they weren't there. Okay. So anyway, moving on. All right. So there we go. So big damage. Yeah. Well, like how we should be keeping an eye on this stuff, and we're not.
Yeah, more reason for a space force. Like, get some satellite up there, get some radars up there, get some telescopes up there. Like, build a moon base so we can, start producing these things up in space where it's cheaper to make them. Right. The main cost of making all this kind of technology is lifting it off of the Earth. Well, you make it on the moon; it's incredibly cheap. So, let's get that space force up there. Let's protect ourselves.
Yeah, let's get there. Absolutely. All right. Next one. What do you got, Frank?
Yeah, okay, so there's been some talk about this mysterious Russian satellite moving around in the sky, and they really didn't know what it was doing. So that's this article, I can pull it up. But here's some more propaganda, the way I see it. So this very abnormal Russian satellite doesn't seem so threatening. Experts, big air quotations around that, experts say. So you got this satellite, it's up in the air, it's moving around, they have no idea what it does. As of yet, there's been no statement from the the Russian government about what this satellite does, what are the intentions of it, what kind of payload is it packing. So you got this thing moving around doing all sorts of stuff, and who knows what it could do? It could shoot down the space station if it wanted to. It could, again, drop rocks or some kind of kinetic weapon on the Earth, and we would have no idea. So, but according to these air quotes experts, it's fine. It's just, let them do whatever they want up there. Like, I'm not buying into this whole Russian phobia either, but it seems like this is another attack against the Space Force idea, because this mysterious Russian satellite moving around is almost a good reason. It's almost like a current day example for the reason why we need a Space Force, to protect ourselves. But here they are. They're saying, it's nothing to worry about. Despite this Russian phobia going on, it's nothing to worry about. So there's something real strange going on here, and I'm pretty sure this story is propaganda too.
Yeah, what's going on? So I like this quote right from the story. It says, this guy, Yelim Pobletti, I'm probably saying that wrong, but that's what you get for having a crazy name. Blame your mother. All right, so the quote, "We don't know for certain what it is, and there's no way to verify it." Okay, right? However, a little further down, nothing to worry about. Hold on, let me find it. Where does he say? Anyway, okay. There's a lot of words here. My brain is small, my mouth is big, but so basically, he says later on that we have no idea what it is, but nothing to see here, nothing to worry about, no problems. We're good. I just don't. Even though it's a abnormal, implying it could be a space weapon of some sort. Mind-boggling.
Could be anything. It could be a spy satellite of some sort, and it could be right over top of us, collecting valuable information. And, it is slightly paranoid to think that people are weaponizing these satellites and putting them up there, but you never know. Like, again, I think that in these last 5 years, we've come so far in terms of cost to orbit. The cost to orbit has decreased so much. And I think that in the next 10 years, we're just going to be launching stuff. I was going to say a bad word. We're going to be launching stuff after stuff up there so quickly. We're going to see more stuff going to orbit in the next 5 years than the previous 50 years, all put together. So who knows what's going to go up there? And I think the reason for a Space Force is evident in these type of stories.
Yeah, I mean, we need to know what the hell that is. What if it's just a satellite with a big rock, and they can drop it wherever? That's what we're talking about. Like, come on, we need to know what the hell's in that satellite. Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything else with that one?
That's it.
All right. One more time. We're live. So 702-957-1037. You guys want to talk about the topics we're touching on here? A couple more news stories, and we'll get to the meat of the thing here. Issue, whatever you call it. I don't know what to say. All right, here we go. So next one. Here's to the moon. Did you see this China article? So apparently, like we actually reported, this was weeks ago, that it was said that China is actually ready to send a an exploration team, or in this case, a rover, to the dark side of the moon. And if you're familiar with the way with radio communications work, you can't send a direct message from Earth to the dark side of the moon. You have to have some sort of intermediary, like kind of right there on the edge of the dark side, where you can send a message. It can hit that intermediary, where whether it's a base or a rover of some type, or a vehicle, or we don't even know yet. Of course, they're only going to release what they want people to see. But yeah, and then we're talking the dark side of the moon, like it's like I don't know, like maybe peeking under Lady Liberty's skirt, tongue twister. But you know what I'm saying? It's just like it's one of those big mysteries of humanity here, and nobody knows. It's and now China is saying that they're about to do it. So we've sat on our hands so long. One of the most obvious things we should be looking at, because what the hell is over there? And now China's about to do it.
Yeah, it's real strange that we're wasting our money shooting probes at the sun, which are going to burn up, and launching probes out into the far atmosphere, or far solar system rather, that are just going to disappear into the endless depths of space. We're either burning them up or we're throwing them away. But meanwhile, China's got one on the moon that's collecting valuable information. Like, even think about this, like that moon rover, it could be scouting for types of materials on the moon, a good location to establish a moon base, looking for evidence of water again, which we can turn into rocket fuel. So there's so many practical reasons to have a rover up there, and we're just sitting on our hands, kind of doing nothing.
Failing. You can say it. We're failing. Yeah. It's again, this is one of those things, right? It's the closest heavenly body. The backside of this thing is dark and been dark. Like I said in the moon episode, we've got lights. Like, what are we doing? Like, what the hell's going on? It just doesn't make sense. And now here we go. China is about to bust a base up there and put some people and be checking out what's on the dark side of the moon. They're going to find all the aliens. They're going to make all the alliances. You know what I'm saying? Like, if there's anything crazy there, they're going to be the ones that claim it. They're going to be the ones that, maybe they meet, what was it, Enki and Enlil, the Anunnaki. Maybe they meet him over there. Who knows? I mean, that's the thing. So, like, do you want maybe like a communist country that censors everything from their own people and only releases propaganda to the world? Do you want them to be the ones to find this information? Makes no sense to me. Though we're getting close to that.
Let me jump in there. That's a very good point you made. Is, let's say on some wild off chance there is some kind of structure or some kind of crashed ship or some kind of old building or base or something up there. Something of some sort. Said something 5 times. But let's say there is a technology of some kind up there. It's an off chance. It's a random chance. But yeah, you're absolutely right. China is going to claim it. They will have the salvage rights for it. They will get it. They will take the advantages. And we won't get any of it, I'm sure. We'll just get nothing. They won't even tell us if they find anything.
Yeah, agreed. And, they're not going to ask permission. It's going to be that. That'll be that. A couple shout-outs. We got Mark. He says, shared. Thank you, Mark. Michael's showing up and says, hey, what's up, Michael? Thank you for being here. Wayne says, what on the round earth? Nice. Thanks for showing up, Wayne. Yeah, it's a little frightening to me. So we're talking about a country that doesn't value human rights the way maybe the West does, and they're possibly going to be, let's say they'll have an advantage, one way or the other. So I think that's the thing that bothers me most about this. It's not that it's not like a big beat your chest and be the first guy type of thing. I think if there's some advantage to be had, we're handing it to China because we're bickering, politicizing everything. Red team, blue team, back and forth, blah blah blah. Politics it's destroying us. And look, they've put the iron fist on their people and censored everything they need to censor. And here they are. They're gonna go to the damn moon. They're gonna go to the dark side of the moon. Even it's ridiculous. So
it's quite interesting. They announced it 2-3 years ago, and now they're going, right? Whereas NASA announces something, 10 years ago, and they still don't have it built yet. They've been trying to make new spacesuits for, I think it's going on 25 years now.
Yeah.
So you're right, is we're spending all this energy fighting amongst ourselves, and we're stuck. Whereas they can just say, hey, we're doing this, and then they do it. And it's beautiful in that way.
Yeah. But beautiful that it's getting done. Not beautiful that they're going to have the rock to drop on us. So, yeah. Wayne says, Iceman. Yes, sir. That. And then Michael says, yar. I agree. 100%. All right, let's whip through this and get on to the topic there. All right, got your foreign debris up.
Yeah, this is a great story. So I read this headline. I was salivating when I read this headline. NASA identifies foreign object debris spotted by Mars rover. So I thought to myself, well, we're finally going to get some answers here. We're going to know what that rodent thing is. We're going to figure out what these things that look like hatches in Mars are. We saw the spoon, right? The spoon picture. We're going to see if that's a real spoon. We're going to get some answers finally. But no, this is just a flake of rock. It's almost like they're trolling us, right? There's so many anomalous things on Mars. They're all over the place. We did a whole show on it. They're everywhere. But NASA, I think this is the only time, focuses in on a shard of rock. It's almost like they're slapping us in our faces. Like look up the Mars spoon, look up the rodent thing, look up the hatches and the tunnels and all this weird and wild and crazy stuff, and they focus in and worry about a piece of rock. Like, this is a slap in the face if I have ever seen one. I cannot believe this story.
Yeah, this is in line with the incompetence of the next one. I'm gonna just skip right to the next one because this is facepalm. But you want double facepalm? Here we go. So the Chinese are about to go to the dark side of the moon, send a rover, set an intermediary, some kind of base, and the Russians are trying to set up a GoPro on the ISS, the International Space Station, and instead of setting it up, to like actual take video in space, yeah, they break it. They break it. It's
How convenient.
These go hand in hand. What was that?
I said, how convenient that it's broken, right? That we won't get any good video out of it, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, nothing to see here. We broke the camera.
Is that what we're paying NASA to go to Best Buy to buy like a GoPro to put on the space station? Like,
I was thinking the exact
Why
same thing.
don't they not have their own technology?
Like, are you shitting me? We're going to use a GoPro from Best Buy or some store like that. We're literally going to just buy some random ass camera and try and stick it outside the space station. It makes no sense. Goofy.
Yeah,
okay.
after NASA gets done embezzling all the money from the government, they go on Amazon and they see a sale for a GoPro and they're like, yeah, there we go. Technology.
Exactly. All right, we're going to jump into the topic, guys. Got a couple comments here, and then we'll hit that. So Wayne says, say a prayer for Bobby. Birdie killed him. All right. R.I.P. With you, buddy. And then he says, inside joke. Okay. It's not funny to joke about people expiring. Okay. Michael agrees. Birdie. Lol. All right. So tonight we're doing cryptozoology. We did some Bigfoot back in the day, but now we're gonna expand a little bit. We're gonna look at some of the other things, some of the other places in the world where there's some wacky stuff happening. So, all right, let's get into this. So cryptozoology itself. So of course, as you guys are aware, if you've watched the show, we love Wikipedia because it's crowdsourced. What would you call it? The information of, or no? What's the 1984 term? Help me, Frank.
The Ministry of Truth.
Yes, the Ministry of Truth. So I went straight there first because I wanted to see what kind of redacted stuff, what kind of filtered stuff, what kind of spin they gave this. Is this a real thing or is this a fake thing? I kind of knew what to expect, so let's roll through this real quick. So according to Wikipedia, or the Ministry of Truth, They say cryptozoology is a pseudoscience and subculture that aims to prove the existence of entities from the folklore record, such as Bigfoot, chupacabras, and Mokili Mbembe. And I don't know if that's a troll or if that's an actual thing. But, because a lot of people can edit Wikipedia. So anyway, cryptozoologists refer to these entities as cryptids, a term coined by the subculture. Because it does not follow the scientific method. Catch that? It does not follow a scientific method. Cryptozoology is considered a pseudoscience by the academic world. It is neither a branch of zoology nor folklorists, because, they're recognized. They're the ones getting funded in the universities, of course.
Wait a minute. So until you discover something, it's not real science. But you can't discover it because it's not real science until accepted scientists discover it, in which it's no longer cryptozoology anymore. There's something that doesn't make sense about that. That we can't find new things because new things can't be found until we find them.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
And then once they're found... Yeah, exactly. And then once they're found, then we determine whether it needs to be publicized or not, and then nothing to see here, or send the funds to the Save the Earth Brigade. I don't know. I mean, exactly. I mean, this is straight off of Wikipedia, our favorite. Michael says, later, guys. He's out. Peace, man. Thanks for showing up. All right. So real quick, through Wikipedia here. Originally founded in the 1950s by zoologists Bernard Heuvelmans and Ivan T. Sanderson, scholars have noted that pseudoscience rejected mainstream approaches from an early date, and that adherents often express hostility to mainstream science. That's what it was, Frank. You were hostile to mainstream science. That's the problem here. You're the problem. It's not the pseudoscience. You're the problem. You're hostile. All right. So scholars have studied cryptozoologists and their influence, including the pseudoscience's association with the young Earth creationism. Interesting. And have noted parallels in cryptozoology and other pseudosciences such as ghost hunting and ufology. All right, there we go. So that's Wikipedia for you. Any kick in there, Frank, before we move on to the next definition?
I think you're right. The Ministry of Truth has written that in such a way to appear as ridiculous as possible, including the mention of these young Earth creationists as if they're, a sizable percent of the population. Again, what is cryptozoology except discovering things that have not been discovered? And to write it in that way makes it seem like the entire thing is false, when anyone discovering a new species is technically a cryptozoologist. So I really don't like that description whatsoever.
Well, what do you expect? Wikipedia. There you go. So this is off of a different take, off of newanimal.org, which is a great site. If you haven't seen it, check it out. They talk about cryptozoology and all kinds of cool stuff. So this is how they describe it. A little bit different than Wikipedia. So they say, cryptozoology is the study of animals and other creatures that have not yet been accepted by science as real. In other words, it's monster hunting, right? Cryptozoologists look for creatures like sea serpents and the Yeti, hoping to gather enough evidence to prove that these beings exist, which I'm pretty sure is how science works. Right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, so they also look for more commonplace animals such as the ivory-billed woodpecker, the giant vampire bat, and the inflatable hedgehog, and the pygmy elephant. Creatures that are under investigation by cryptozoologists are called cryptids. All right. Notice that they didn't one time spit in its face yet, or say that it's phony and matched up with tinfoil hatists or UFOists or anything like that. So okay, it goes on, and basically we'll get to the rest of some of this stuff later. But it says, although cryptozoology doesn't get much respect from other scientific disciplines, of course, it has some spectacular success stories, including the pongo, now known as the gorilla, the okapi, an animal that looks like a cross between a giraffe and a zebra, and the coelacanth, which happens to be a prehistoric fish thought to be extinct. So, it's again, these are the things that pop up, and if we don't know they're there, how the hell are you supposed to find them if you're not looking for them?
There was let me jump in there. There was a good story about I believe it was the redback gorilla. Way back in the 1890s, the 1900s, people had been reporting sightings of these things, and of course they were all called crazy. There's no such thing exists. There's no gorilla like that. You're insane. And lo and behold, they did their work. They did their investigation. Now we know they're everywhere, right? So it's just a question of, this goes against my worldview, therefore you're wrong. And I think that mentality is the problem here, is we're not open to accepting things that we have no idea about. Like, the real answer should be, I don't know if it is there, I don't know if it exists, but I'm willing to accept evidence that it could exist. And that's been proven so many times that we don't know everything. And that's all this is looking for the unknown.
Yeah, and of course, smear by the mainstream. It certainly seems to me that they don't want to find the unknown unless somebody at let's say Stanford or Harvard or Yale or UC Berkeley or Oxford, like, they don't want to find it unless one of these guys, somebody that works at one of these places, are the people that found it, and then they can tell us and publish this big huge fancy thing, and here's this new critter, and and then it goes to the front page of CNN and everybody's happy. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. But yeah. Anyway, so I think if you look at the two definitions there, one's very spit in the face of cryptozoologists, and the other one is very even. Sure, looking for things doesn't mean they're there, but how do you find things if you don't look for them? It's simple. It's just simple logic, let's say. So cryptozoology is one of those things where if we haven't found it yet, well, we might one day, because we don't know all the things. We don't know all the animals. Hell, it wouldn't surprise me if we found tribes of people still on this planet that we didn't know exist. So it's silly. More smear, more control. All right. So anyway, there we go. There's the intro to cryptozoology. We got some wacky stuff coming, but you had something you wanted to add right there, Frank. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we think about cryptozoology and we think it's insane and deranged in some way, that they're looking for all these bizarre creatures. But there's actually a set of criteria floating around that puts these things in tiers. And I thought we should run through this real quick. And while I'm talking about it, I want you to stop me when I reach the stage where you think that it's bizarre, it's too insane to believe, it can't be real. And I think you'll be surprised how far down I get on this list before we stop. Okay, so the most common cryptozoological creature is just anomalies in the size of these creatures. So looking at a cat that's slightly larger than it is noted to be normally. There's a bunch of big cats in the UK, for example, that people think are cryptids, but they're just cats that are slightly larger or slightly different color. Now, the next step up is undescribed, unusual, or outsized variations of known species. So giant anacondas, Amazonian rainforest, or spotted lions. So things that are just slightly different enough to be bizarre. Again, these are all pretty common. So the giant squid, for example, is an example of this, where they're down there. We just didn't know about them until recently. Now, the next tier up, again, getting more crazy as we go, survival of recently extinct species. So the ivory-billed woodpecker, they presumed it was extinct way back when. Then they found some, and now they think it's extinct again. So this kind of thing. So things that they thought were extinct, they discovered, and now they've gone extinct. So again, these things are very common. They happen all the time. The next step up is survival of species known only from the fossil record into modern times. So talking about dinosaur-like creatures in Africa, they've been reported sightings of those things. Again, I don't think this is too far a stretch. Like, we have the coelacanth, which you just spoke about, this fish that they thought had been extinct since the Cretaceous period. Then a fisherman found one in his net. Right? So still, in my mind, these kind of classifications make perfect sense. They're not too bizarre. Now, next step up, survival of species from the fossil record much later into history. So stuff from way back when. So the woolly mammoth maybe is still existing somewhere, or certain types of birds or tigers. This is one category we'll focus on today, is pterosaurs or pterodactyls that people are seeing today, they thought they were extinct from way back in the dinosaur age, but we're still seeing them today. So, still not very bizarre in my mind. Like, we had examples of these things in the past. It could be they're still around. We just haven't seen them, so we don't know. Now, the next step up is animals not known from the fossil record, but related to known species. So, the Andean wolf or the striped manta ray. So, just again, kind of bizarre creatures that we don't have any bones for, we don't have any evidence for, things like this. Bigfoot would be an example. There's no known category for Bigfoot, but people see it all the time. So this is where it gets a little more bizarre. Now, this is my stopping point. So the next point above that, though, is mythological animals. So we're talking about griffins and dragons and fairies and all this kind of stuff. And that's where I really don't believe it. Like, that's where it goes too far. Because even if these things were real and they were based on stories in the ancient past, those stories have changed over time, probably more than the animals themselves have. So, if you were to compare an animal, a modern day dragon, for example, to an ancient story, I don't think it would match up. But maybe, do you get the point I'm trying to make here? Is that's the stopping point, is these mythological animals. All this other stuff is just variations of species that currently exist or variations of species that used to exist. Do you kind of get that?
Yeah, I follow you. There's a lot of variations, and isn't that how supposedly evolution's supposed to work? I mean, you get those kind of mutations that make things a little bigger and a little smaller, this color, that color, 3 toes, 4 toes, 5 toes type of thing. I mean, that's the normal stuff we should expect to find, right? But we're maligning it somehow. We're telling them that these things are goofy for you even wondering or thinking about it. Shout out to Fred. He says, Waves says, late to the party. No problem. Always welcome to the party. Talking about cryptids and cryptozoology. So, yeah, we're about to get into that in a sec here. But, yeah. I mean, it seems like we're so eager to just write things off. Move along, nothing to see here. Russian agents,
Absolutely. And like Bigfoot and giant squids and all this kind of stuff. Like, there's an evolutionary basis for these things. They're not dragons or fairies, but they could be variants of monkeys. They could be variants of octopus and smaller squid. And there's so many examples of, I think you're right. We think we know everything, and we're not willing to accept that maybe there's a type of monkey out there that's slightly larger and stands on 2 legs. Maybe there's, still some of these ancient dinosaur creatures in modern day, in the unexplored wilderness or deep under the ocean. I think we like to think we know everything, but we really don't. And looking through these classifications, all this cryptozoology really doesn't seem odd to me because it's all based in reality. We're not talking about ghosts. We're not talking about griffins and, fairies. It's all based in reality in some form or another.
Yeah, I think at that point, when you start talking about fairies and ghosts, and you're talking about something entirely, completely different. It's not cryptozoology at all. Real quick on the coelacanth, so we don't have to go into this later, but this was a living fossil fish, basically. It was supposed to have become extinct 65 million years ago, but its specimen was apparently picked up in a fish market near Cape Town, South Africa, 1938. And it's like, wait, so extinct 65 million years ago. We have fossils of this thing. And then they're catching them in nets. Really? Okay, so in this sense, correct me if I'm wrong, 65 million years ago, that was dinosaur style. I believe that's when the asteroid hit and wiped the dinosaurs, right? So they tell us. So here's the thing that's crazy. If this fish is still alive and evolution is the way it's supposed to be, wouldn't this fish have legs and be like an alligator or a crocodile, or you know what I'm saying? It would be something else at this point, right? 65 million years unchanged.
Unless it's perfectly adapted to its environment and it doesn't need to change in that intervening time period, which it very well could be. It's a badass looking fish, quite frankly.
It's a long ass time though. But anyway, okay, so we won't go back to the coelacanth. But case in point of why we need to keep looking, because we just don't know. We think we know. I think that's the thing. The big three, those guys, government, academia, Major corporations. They want us to think that they know. They don't know. They don't know. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I agree. All right, what we got first here, Frank? What kind of a wacky critter we got?
Okay, let's go into some of the let's go into pterodactyls. So pterosaurs or pterodactyls. Now, a lot of the time when people focus on this stuff, it's all Bigfoot and chupacabra, right? That's what they focus on when they're looking at cryptozoology. But interestingly, and I don't know if you had heard of this, but hundreds of people for year after year after year have been citing pterosaurs or pterodactyls, so these flying dinosaurs, everywhere across the world. And it's not, one or two every decade, but it's multiple almost every year. And it's been going on for hundreds of years in North America and Africa and China, even Australia. Big hotspot in Papua New Guinea. But yeah, there's all these things all over the place. So I think we put some pictures there, so maybe cycle through some of them as I'm talking about this. But petrosaurs, or sorry, that's not how you say it, the P is silent. Pterosaurs or pterodactyls are flying reptiles of the extinct order Pterosaurus. They existed during most of the Mesozoic and the late Triassic periods, so years ago to 66 million years ago. And they're the earliest vertebrates that have been known to evolve flight. And they have these, instead of feathers like modern day birds, they have the membrane of skin on their wings and muscle that allows them to fly through the air. So they have big, long, fully toothed jaws, and they have long tails. And some of them had furry coats and kind of hair-like filaments coming off of them. But yeah, there was a bunch of variations. Some were, 60 feet from wing to wing, and some were only 12 feet from wing to wing. And these things were everywhere. They were very populous. They existed in the forest and mountains almost across the entire world. Again, because they were the first kind of vertebrate to evolve flight, they could get across everywhere. They could fly down the continents. They could go to different continents across the ocean. So they kind of spread like rats across the entire world. And when you think about that, that's a better reason for them to still be alive today, is because they could spread so rapidly. They could go wherever they want. They could go to the top of a mountain or deep into the jungle because they could just fly there. Whereas a lot of these other dinosaur type characters, they really couldn't do that. They were stuck in their own general area. They couldn't move very far. Anyway, there have been sightings of these things all over the place. And it's crazy to think that. And I had never heard of this until just recently, but yeah, there's sightings of these things all over the place. And again, I think just focusing on Bigfoot or chupacabras is a disservice to these things, because we have all sorts of bizarre creatures, not just those two. So let me go through a couple of these sighting reports, or maybe two or three of them. And yeah, we'll talk about them as we go through them. So here's a sighting report from Alaska. So a bird described by witnesses as being big and light, shaped like an airplane, looking like a pterodactyl, was discovered in Alaska. News of the bird broke after sightings by a bush pilot, his passengers, and a bulldozer operator on the ground. Villagers in the remote southwestern corner of Alaska, so again in these remote areas. The creature was at least 4 times the size of a bald eagle. He spotted it, the pilot, about 1,000 feet above the ground, and it flew towards the mountains. The creature's wingspan was 14 or 15 feet, roughly the same size as his Cessna plane that he was flying in. And Phil Schmempf, a biologist with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in Anchorage, Alaska, said that a bunch of people had actually called his office to report these things. So there we go. There's an example from Alaska sighting. And I believe this was only 5-6 years ago. What do you think of that? Any thoughts?
Yeah, so not just I saw it, and this thing was huge, but we got corroboration. Other people calling in and reporting these things. And modern times, again. It's like, this is not that far out there for me. It's just like you said, like, it's possible, like, way out in the middle of nowhere, where people can't even get to, where it's just such a pain to get there, even for a plane or a helicopter, because we don't have the range gas-wise, or we can't land it because it's a plane, etc., etc. It just it makes sense that there's these things that are way out there that we have no idea about. Again, like we're playing God here by saying that we know all the things all the time. It just doesn't make sense to me. But yeah,
absolutely,
this is plausible.
Okay, absolutely. Now here's another sighting report from Oregon. So there's a short clip. I think we have that. Why don't we play it?
Right, Oregon. Here we go.
A man in northern Oregon says he saw a big bird that sounded like a dinosaur. The man, who provided a full name but asked to remain anonymous, told Cryptozoology News on Tuesday that he works as a campus security guard. He says he was taking out the trash at approximately 1:30 a.m. when the creature showed up. It flew from behind a house across the street and glided back to the ground. I was caught off guard by its size and screeching sound, said the Philomath resident. It sounded like an old movie's dinosaur. He described the creature as a flying being, with the wingspan of about 3/5 to 4/5 of the length of the house's roof. The wings, he said, were bent, and its head had a short and curved beak. The security guard adds that he was able to see the animal in the dark because of the light from a nearby mill. I was not able to see the color or texture, just the size and shape of it, he said.
Still a big bird.
Yeah, much so. A lot of these things are often confused with like the larger eagles or the heron cranes that have quite a large wingspan, but it's nowhere near the size of a house. So again, these things, that was Oregon, and we covered Alaska. So let's look at North Carolina now. Apparently they've seen quite a few of these things there. So here's a report. Let me read this. Okay. So I saw a pterodactyl up close tonight. Not joking. I was driving along I-540 in Raleigh at sundown, cruising around 70 miles an hour, heading to my weekly jam session with my buddy. All of a sudden, I see a huge bird-looking thing fly across the overpass I was on, maybe 20 to 25 feet in front of my car, and about 8 feet off the ground. He reported several features. It had an enormous pointed beak, a pointed top on its head, a wingspan probably about 6 feet wide, so maybe a smaller version of these things, a bony wing structure ending in points, small claws in the middle of the wing, looked bat-like in a way, and two kind of legs jutting at the back. And yeah, the eyewitness says he wasn't drinking, he wasn't high on drugs, and he told his friends, and everyone told him to be quiet about it, to not mention it ever again. So again, these kind of sightings are everywhere. So in Charlotte, North Carolina, a man and his cousin saw something bringing to his mind the word dragon. He said it looked like something out of Jurassic Park. In Ashenville, North Carolina, a lady saw a huge black-winged creature fly very low over her car. It had no feathers, but very sharp features. In Jacksonville, North Carolina, an eyewitness saw something huge flying in the sky. It looked like a pale greenish-white and smooth-skinned animal. It didn't appear to have any feathers. Pale with a diamond shape on the end of it. So again, there's 4 reportings in the last 10 years, I believe, just from North Carolina of these things.
And real quick, so Fred makes a comment. He says, could they be what the natives call thunderbirds? Read my mind, buddy. About to get there.
Yeah, we'll get into that. So let me keep trucking through these because I got quite a few. So even in Papua New Guinea, so we covered North America, and I think we'll go to Arizona with you for these thunderbirds, but let's look at Papua New Guinea. So shortly after World War II, as Western missionaries began to penetrate deep into the jungles of the remote islands of Papua New Guinea, stories of a flying creature called the ropen, or demon flyer, began to emerge. So a bunch of people, Duane Hodgkinson, stationed in the PNG as part of the Army Cavalry in 1944, reported one of these things. He says, about noon one day, he was walking down a trail through a clearing into the forest, and he was startled by a crashing sound in the brush. As he watched, a large bird-like creature ponderously rose from the ground, circled, and flew away. This guy was a pilot, and he estimated the wingspan to be that of a small airplane, about 25 feet. He clearly recalls the dark coloration, the long serpentine neck, a beak, a very distinctive head and crest, and the very long tail. And he describes it as kind of a nocturnal creature, possessing leathery wings, without feathers, and razor-sharp claws. And so in this area, a lot of the locals even see them. They see these things all the time. So actually, they claim that they eat the human corpses from burial mounds. So I actually dug up an interview with a tribesperson from Papua New Guinea, and he describes what he saw. So let's play that ropen sighting clip. That's what they're called there. They're called the ropen.
You live in Opai village? Opai village, yes. Okay. Do you ever see the ropen flying at night?
Yes. Before one para palay. Na ini kam kisimuan para man long gumlungon ya long mat balongan.
Grave. Issue one come to the grave and
Okay,
for a long time.
Where was this grave? Gumlagon? Okay.
One grave.
And what year was this that he saw this? What year? Last year.
Higir masuk.
Oh, 1949.
1949.
1949.
That's when I was born, a long time ago. Was it nighttime?
Bong?
Bong.
Yeah,
Bong night.
Was it right after the body was buried, or a day or two later after the body was buried that this happened? Or
Before also putting body long box nogat.
yes, it
Long
was
karuka.
all leaves.
Yes.
And leave.
Yeah.
Naimi Karim. Come dikim all Naimi Karim. Na Karim go the Salam Mountain. Naimi Kai Kai. And
The Robin come to the Gomlongon in the grave
Yes.
and get the body and went back right up to the mountain.
Oh, okay.
I'm looking through long eye below me.
Yeah.
He saw it through.
Oh, he saw it.
Yeah.
Okay. But
It
did
was
he,
in 1949.
1949. Could he see that the ropen did have a tail?
You got Jolon? Oh, they just saw the light.
Sign of the light.
Oh,
Yeah.
kind of. So it came at night. It got the body, went up back up to the mouth.
Mountain.
Not Bell.
Mount Bell.
Not Bell. Okay. I think
Your eyewitness right there. Since
So that's a
1949.
little hard to understand, but basically he saw this thing twice in 1944 and 1949. And again, this is like a tribesperson in Papua New Guinea. He has no reason to lie, really. It's not as if he's going to start a YouTube channel and, rake in the views. But yeah, he saw it stealing corpses from kind of the graveyard area and flying back to the mountain with these things, presumably to eat them. And this is only one of many reports from that area where they're seeing these things all the time. Again, very remote, so the possibility that they're surviving there in some form or another is believable to me.
Yeah, again, if you could fly, it's a huge advantage. And, like even 65 million years ago, we just proved with the coelacanth under the water. It's a long time. You can survive if you can get away from people, apparently. And these guys both have that trait locked down. So the coelacanth deep under the water, stay hidden, don't bite fishing lines, and the pterodactyl here with the ability to be as remote as possible. I think we've all seen Avatar, but they climb up to the very top to catch these things, right? They're kind of pterodactyl types, but they're so remote. It's like a heavenly type experience, like a divine experience, just being in their presence. But anyway, yeah, I think it's plausible, definitely. Thunderbird?
Absolutely. No, let me go through a couple more here, because I just want to reiterate this point, is that they're everywhere. It's not just one or two people citing them. They're everywhere. So let's go to England real quick, and I'll paraphrase a sighting report from England. So basically, a lady wrote into one of these investigators, and she described her experience. So it was on September 27th, 2017. The lady says, I'm in the best of health mentally. I don't take drugs or prescription pills. I don't drink. 2 weeks ago, she says, I went in the garden. She lives near this wildlife reserve where there's a bunch of birds, and so she knows what birds look like. She's very used to them. And then she says, well, on this particular morning, I heard a very strange screech. I say strange as I had never heard it before, and it was very loud, almost resoundingly loud. I heard it getting closer and closer. And then, lo and behold, she saw two pterodactyls side by side flying out of this marshy area. And she had to check herself because she thought they were huge birds initially. But as she got a better look at them, she saw giant-sized beaks and wings that had no feathers. So the two of them flew right over top of her and then kind of escaped into the distance. And then about 2 weeks later, she reports that her children had come running in and also saw these giant big brown birds with giant wings, no feathers. And they had seen the exact same thing she saw. Two of them kind of flying around this marshy area, I guess hunting for food. But again, there's another sighting report from England. So England, Papua New Guinea, all over the North American area. They're everywhere.
And this is all new. These are all in the last 100 years. So we're talking about
that
here.
one in particular was just a year ago. So let's go to Thunderbirds in just 1 second. I want to go rapid fire through a few more of these just to cement that point that these things are everywhere. So, May 1961, New York. A businessman flying his private plane over the Hudson River claimed he was buzzed by a very large creature that had wings but no feathers. Early 1960s in California, a couple driving through the Trinity National Forest reported seeing the silhouette of a giant bird with a 14-foot wingspan, and they described it as resembling a pterodactyl. January 1976 in Texas, 2 teens saw something that looked like a bald eagle, except it was much larger, had a giant beak, no feathers, and they discovered 3 toed tracks that were 8 inches across. 1976 in Texas, 3 elementary school teachers saw what they described as a pterodactyl swooping low over their cars as they drove. Their wingspan between 15 and 20 feet. And final one here, 1982 in Texas, an ambulance driver described one of these things, a sighting of a large bird-like object flying low over the area. He described it as black and grayish with a rough texture and no feathers. It had a 5 to 6 foot wingspan, a hump on the back of its head, almost no neck, and he decided it looked like a pterosaur. So these things are everywhere. They're in Texas, California, New York, Oregon, Alaska, again, Papua New Guinea, all over the place. They're everywhere. And some in Arizona, too. Do you want to cover that one?
Yeah, so if you guys are just joining us, we're talking about pterodactyls. We're talking about cryptozoology. Is it possible? After 65 million years, they're actually still flying around somewhere in the remotest parts of the world. If you guys got some take on that, we'd love to hear it. 702-957-1037. Or you can click on Discord right there on the Facebook stream and get on and talk to us about it. But just like Fred said, we're going to jump straight to Thunderbirds. So there's a native depiction of a Thunderbird. And real quick, so the Thunderbird is a legendary creature in certain North American indigenous peoples. In their history and culture, it is considered a supernatural being of power and strength. It is especially important and frequently depicted in the art, songs, and oral histories of many Pacific Northwest coast cultures. But it also found in various forms among some peoples on the American Southwest, East Coast of the United States, Great Lakes, and the Great Plains. So they've got I've got a whole list of the natives that talk about this and specifically what it means. But I thought this one was pretty interesting. The Menominee, I'm probably butchering that, but it's a native tribe of northern Wisconsin, tell of a great mountain that floats in the western sky, on which dwell the Thunderbirds. They control the rain and hail and delight in fighting and deeds of greatness. Now, I think the thing there, they tell of a great mountain that floats in the sky, and these things obviously are able to get there. So the remotest parts of the world, that's exactly what we're talking about. And let me spin through some pictures here real quick. You heard of the Thunderbird, right, Frank?
Yeah, absolutely. These huge, giant creatures. And again, so I think that they're all similar ways to describe what, to me anyway, looks like a pterodactyl. I believe the Thunderbird has feathers, though. So it could just be our misinterpretation of what these native stories are telling us.
Yeah, definitely. It depends on the depiction and the culture, of course. Maybe it's what we were talking about previously, where we get some genetic differences between different populations. So it could be. But yeah, here's a depiction here. Again, if you guys want to see these pictures, they'll all be up on the website. That's troubledminds.org. So if you want to follow up on our research, we got all the links, write-ups, pictures, audio clips. It'll all be there. troubledminds.org. But right here is a depiction of it's a etching in a rock. Maybe cliff inside of a cave. I'm not exactly sure where it came from, but you can see it's a bird, very large, and in its beak it appears to be a man, like the size of So this bird's maybe 5 or 6 times the size of a person, and has the man in its beak. Did you see this one, Frank?
Yeah. So again, this is exactly what it would look like, but for some reason, when we look at these things, we say, no, that can't be possible. But here they are drawing these things. And what are we supposed to do? Say they don't know what they're talking about? If anything, these are more believable because they don't have the internet and television and Jurassic Park to tell them what to think, right? They didn't have that inspiration. The only inspiration they had was seeing these things presumably in the wild.
Right, and exactly, and then trying to depict them as such. I don't think it's a stretch to think that ancient artists would be confused about the difference between the size of a bird and a person. But so I think scale is not lost on a lot of these old cultures. About yeah, but interesting the size here. Let's see, do I have another size? Got a size comparison. Oh, we'll get to the Civil War picture in a minute. But yeah, so the Thunderbird, for hundreds of years, thousands of years even. This is an old ancient legend. We're talking about North America. We're talking about the native people here, and so according to many of these legends, the Thunderbird is so large that one feather from their wingspan could have been folded in half to properly fit in a quiver. So that's a very large bird. And additionally, these creatures were so large and mighty that they could easily carry a whale in their talons. I think we might have a bit of ancient hyperbole there. A whale's pretty big. But because of this, many scholars find it unlikely that the Thunderbird could exist in a modern day without being seen. Unless, of course, they lived in the most remote regions of the world. But yeah. So I'll just skip over the Thunderbird because we got a lot more to get to. But yeah, anything else there, Frank? You want to get to the Civil War and the rest of these?
Yeah, so actually, let's go to that Civil War photo. Let me move back up. So I believe this was there was a picture from Tombstone, Arizona. So again, describing what looks like a pterosaur. So April 26th, 1890, the Tombstone Habitat published an article in the newspaper. Found in the desert, a strange winged monster discovered and killed in the Huco, I can't say that, in the desert. The creature was described as a mix of alligator with huge wings. It was killed between the Hukata and Whetstone Mountains. The creature was evidently tired when it had been hunted and killed. The cowboys measured the creature. It was 92 feet long, 50 inches in diameter, and 160 feet from wingtip to wingtip. So I think we have the photo, the tombstone picture, do we?
Yeah.
They left it there. Apparently they cut it to pieces to take souvenirs of it. And yeah, so there's apparently, although it's hard to tell in this day and age, but apparently that's the picture that someone's dug up of these cowboys hunting this creature.
Yeah. Have you guys seen these photos? So that Civil War one is pretty much on par with the size of the cave. So let's see. We got the birds about 5 times the size of a person, and then let's go look at the Civil War photo, and that bird looks about 5 times the size of a person, where you could put your beak around him and shake him, and just like that cave etching. So interesting. And then the other one, same thing.
Yeah,
with
there's actually
Cowboys.
2 we had, right? One is like a Civil War one, and the other's a cowboy one.
Yeah, I've got them both up.
Are real.
Yeah, I got them both up. What's up, Kelly, Robert? Thanks for showing up, guys. Kelly says, yeah, he's seen these photos. Yeah, so we're kind of going through this one looks, the Civil War one looks a little Photoshopped to me. Got the 6 Civil War looking soldiers, Union types, blue coats, standing around this pterodactyl on the ground. Is what it looks like. One of them's got his foot on its beak. Looks like they've just maybe brought this thing down and they're posing with the carcass. The cowboy one, on the other hand, has 10 or 12 guys here, and a couple dogs, and it looks like they're holding up the pterodactyl itself, the wings, the head, and they've all got their guns posing like they brought this thing down. But that looks pretty legit to me. That's a great Photoshop job, right? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely for that time it is. And again, I think one of the experts on this, I have his name here somewhere, but he's one of the guys who really is the main lead on these kind of stories. I don't have his name off the top of my head, but basically he's analyzed this photograph, the Civil War photograph, and he says there's a bunch of details in there that make it seem real. So the wings are kind of folded in the appropriate way. There's a prop under the beak, so the Civil War guy has his foot on its head, and he would have had to hold it there for like several minutes as these old-timey photographs did their exposure. Everything lines up in terms of the physics, like the guy's foot on his head and the length of time for the exposure. Apparently there's some drag marks in the foreground. I don't know if you can see that. So they it just didn't appear there. They had to drag it there to take the picture, and some blood as well. So again, people have looked at these photos and they claim them to be true, but again, who really knows? But yeah, I kind of believe it. Like, why are we so quick to discount everything? I don't know.
Yeah, I think this is one of those ones that's within reason. Again, you know, they fly out to who knows some kind of rocky crag and then fly out of the ocean and look for food, and then they get shot down. You know, I mean, why do we not see them now? It's a good question. Why do we not see the extra?
We do.
The extra 4 or 5 moons, or you know.
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Well, why do we not see the extra moons, the mini moons, like we started this whole stream with? Like, there's tons of stuff we don't see that we like to pretend that we know is there, and we have no freaking clue. But yeah, go ahead. My bad.
Yeah, so apparently there are some videos of these things out there, and again, it's hard to tell if these are real or false. So why don't we quickly look at a couple of them, if that's okay?
Sure.
So the Idaho video. Why don't we pull up the Idaho video and we'll kind of describe it for anyone listening on audio.
All right, hold on. We got auto plays going on here. All right, Idaho. Which one is that? There we go. Okay, Idaho coming up. If you guys have seen these, give us a call. Let us know what you think in the comments. Is this stuff real? Is this stuff fake? What's going on? About to play this video. This is pretty convincing. This is a great CGI job if they pulled it off. So here we go, playing the video. So you can see kind of out there in the distance, maybe say a couple 100 yards away, what appears to be a pterodactyl flying away from the person with the camera and through the bushes and away. The person starts chasing on foot, and then cut back to a zoom-in version here. And I don't know, is that fake? What do you guys think?
There's a key feature in this one that's pretty interesting in that it kind of makes a dip forward. So it's flying along, and then it kind of dips forward and looks at the ground, and then goes back up. And that's the kind of thing, if you were just faking this, why would you put that weird detail in there? That happened, I think, around 8-10 seconds in. Like, it dips forward to look at the ground, and then it moves back up again. And that seems to be a very strange detail to Photoshop in. Like, it doesn't quite make sense. Did you see that part of it?
Yeah, actually, it was timed perfectly. Right when you were talking about it, he was doing it. But yeah, so it definitely, like, tips forward, looks at the ground, almost like he's hunting, right? Or some kind of I don't know, other navigational trait. Again, you know, if we don't have these things like captured and we haven't studied them, if it's possible, I don't know. Robert says, why would they kill them? Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think it's like the same thing. You know, like a lot of us saw a Bigfoot. For you to prove you saw it, the best way is to get a great picture, or to, you know, the best way to prove it is to kill it and drag its body in. So, you know, fear or you know, let's prove this thing exists. So I mean, that's why I think it would be killed. But yeah. Fred says very cool. Yeah. So I mean, is it real? What do you think, Fred? What do you think, Robert, Kelly? Is this a real thing, or is this just like a good CGI? Is this a good imagination, kind of cooking stuff up to confuse us? Is it the Illuminati? Trying to change the subject. What is it? What do you guys think? Let us know what you think. One more time, call in, tell us what you think. 702-957-1037, or jump on Discord. We got some more. Got another video there, Frank?
Yeah, why don't we pull up the Chinese dragon video? So This was taken in China, obviously, and it shows what appears to be a pterodactyl flying over the mountains. You'll probably have to skip like 10 seconds. There's a dumb intro in this video, but
all right.
Again, let me know when you have it up.
All right. That is definitely a dumb intro. Okay, here we go. Putting this sucker up. All right, so take a look, guys. So we're it's kind of a blurry, far away picture. We got mountains here, and what appears to be something flying with a long tail. Wow, that almost looks like a dragon. Holy smokes.
Yeah, they claim it's a dragon. I don't know, though, because it only has the 2 feet, right? The
right.
the Pterodactylus pterosaurs only had feet and arms. They didn't have like extra arms like a dragon would.
Right.
But yeah, this to me it has the triangular shape on the tail like a proper pterodactyl would. It's flying along. It looks like it has very leathery wings, no feathers or anything. Again, in these obscure, faraway regions in the mountains where these flying creatures could probably survive.
Yeah, and if it did have those arms on the wings like a pterodactyl does, you wouldn't be able to see them from this distance. So, yeah, hence the dragon look. So, holy smokes, it looks pretty good. That's a good fake job, don't you guys think? Sure seems like it to me. But definitely convincing. Fred says, I think it's real. And then Robert says, yeah, that video looked real to me. And then Kelly says, you never know. I never discount anything. And I agree. Again, that's why we do this. We want to make sure that we're thinking for ourselves. And then Robert says, looks like the wing is torn. It does. It looks like it kind of looks like that classic dragon, right? Like the wings are a little bit beat up and kind of a little bit leathery. Definitely looks a little dragonish. So I can see how they would call it that. Very cool stuff. But yeah, so if you guys heard of this stuff, got something to chime in. Comments are fantastic. Calls are great too. So yeah, we got some more. What do you got, Frank?
Yeah, there's a Pennsylvania one here too. And again, this one has a dumb intro, so skip ahead like to halfway. But yeah, again, hundreds of sightings all over the world. Some as early as this year, we've seen sightings of these things reported, and they're everywhere. Like it's not something that's rare.
Yeah, they continue to keep showing up. We got a long list of sightings, recent and hundreds or thousands of years ago. So here we go. This one's looks like a gray sky, storm clouds type of thing going on. Maybe late afternoon, a little bit of sunlight, and what appears to be definitely something flying, and it's kind of comes behind the. Is that behind the cloud? Like it disappeared behind the cloud. But yeah, it's definitely not a bird for sure. The thing is way too big. I mean, unless they're standing on the wing of a 747 or something. But that thing is really large.
The clouds give it some nice perspective too, so you can see how large and how far away it is. Again, very interesting. It kind of looks like that Chinese video we just showed. Could be anything, could be fake, but again, it could be real too.
Yeah, it's doing the replay. Okay. Wow. All right. And so that was from a YouTube channel called All in One. If you want to check it out, or we'll have the link on troubledminds.org if you want to follow up on us and check this stuff out. What do you guys think? Bogus? Legit? Some of these videos look pretty good. Some of the pictures look pretty good. That cowboy picture with the pterodactyl, that looks. I mean, you could see like through the leathery wings a little bit of translucent going on. And the body, like of the cowboy standing behind through the wing, like kind of that shadow action. So yeah, it's impressive. Anyway, these kids are good if they can Photoshop that type of stuff. Let's see. Kelly's got one. He says, "Check this out. The video was sent into another UFO disclosure page called Third Phase of the Moon. It's called it's a video of a wired underwater creature. Let's check it out. Let's see what we got."
What's the name of it so I can pull it up? The name of the video. And anyone else listening
I
can
got the
pull it
link.
up too.
Okay, so it's called Scary. Lake Monster Attacks Woman. Shocking Underwater Video. This is Canada, Lake Champlain, 2015. That's the whole full title. I'll drop the link. Kelly's got the link in the Facebook, and I'm dropping you one right now, Frank. There you go. You got it on Discord. Wait, is that the thing? No, that's the thing. There you go. It's the second one underneath there. That thing. What is that?
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Okay, it looks similar, right? So it kind of looks. It looks like it's got wings. Looks like it's underwater a little bit. It looks like it's a long video, so I gotta kind of skip through and find what's happening here. But
I believe some of these things were aquatic too. They could hunt just like modern day birds do. They could hunt in the air, they could hunt on the ground, but they could also dive under the water. So seeing this kind of thing, it's not out of the stretch of imagination. A big problem birds have going underwater is, of course, they absorb all that water on their feathers. But lizard-type dinosaur creatures don't have that problem. They have no feathers. They're immune to the water, so to speak. So they could definitely dive down and do what this thing's doing.
It seems like, huh? Yeah, underwater. That's a pretty close shot of the face there. Huh.
Has that beak, it has that stereotypical bulge on the head. It seems like it has these leathery, translucent wings as well. Yeah, you never know. Could be another example of these things.
Yeah, seems to fit the profile for sure. But yeah, a lot of good looking stuff here. Convincing. What do you guys think? I would say again with this one, with the Thunderbird, with the pterodactyl, plausible. My opinion. If you can fly far away, be remote like that, and only be seen here and there, yeah, that's kind of Bigfootish, very remote. But wings help with that for sure. For sure. What else we got there?
I think that's it for videos. If we want to go on to a different topic.
Okay. So we've got all kinds of stuff. So I was looking at some of the regional type of cryptids. So I spent some time in Arizona. I think it's gorgeous. The desert, kind of like a whole lot of nothing, right? And so we tend to overlook what's in the desert. And Arizona, if anybody's been there, there's some spots on there that look like the moon. If you like plopped a little rover there and took some pictures and shaded it a little bit bronze color, you would actually maybe say it looks like the moon. Very mysterious looking. But because there's so much landscape there that we can't, no roads and whatnot, it's kind of easy to hide something there, I would think. So I was looking at through Arizona, so and the Thunderbird came up, and then Frank and I concurred there on the pterodactyl as a possibility, as a Thunderbird, and then everything else. But there were more. So let's see, what else do I have here? There is a. All right, we did the coelacanth. All right, this is called. Actually, here I'll play the clip. The clip will say it better than I do, anyway. So there's like a, let's say, an Arizona version of Bigfoot. So I got a clip here. That's it's just outside of Prescott, I believe, is the city in Arizona. But here we go.
Nearing the border with New Mexico, it's a rugged wilderness that many creatures call home. And as Linda Williams reports tonight, one man says the Mogollon monster is among them.
According to some, there is wildlife in these woods not so keen to be caught on camera.
They range from about this tall to about 8 feet.
Mitchell Waite is the chief monster chaser for MogollonMonster.com.
Well, I think they're the same species, but probably different races.
The Mogollon Monster is Arizona's Bigfoot. And according to Waite, the Mogollon Monster got his name in 1947 when a big, hairy beast raided a Boy Scout camp near Tonto Creek.
Because it happened on the Mogollon Rim, the Boy Scouts called it the Mogollon Monster. And that's kind of what stuck. I just happened to be catch something out of my corner of my eye, and I turned and looked, and this thing stood up out of a small cave. And my first thought was, it looked like Cousin It on the Addams Family, But by the time I got it backed up, it had already covered probably 30 yards and disappeared into the bushes. Probably well over a dozen times now. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the Mogollon monster. So a couple of comments here. Kelly says, pretty crazy things out there in the world. The truth is stranger than fiction. I agree 100%. Todd says, I live in Arizona. Fantastic. Then you know what I'm talking about. Fred says, me too. Awesome. You guys are awesome. Arizona's awesome. And then Todd, thanks for showing up. He says, what's up? Guess I missed the first half of the show. And yeah, heard about him in the 60s. You're talking about the Mogollon monster, right? So if you guys live out there, that's fantastic. What do you know? What do you know about him? So here's on the screen is the artist depiction of what the Mogollon monster looks like. But kind of Bigfootish, but kind of not also. and he's said to be a lot of the same things, where you get a particular smell when you approach him. So, what do you think, Frank? Is it possible this is maybe a Bigfoot type cousin that kind of just lives in a different part of the Southwest instead of the Northwest? Seems like it could be a little bit different.
But again, it always seems to be in these either a jungly area with a lot of tree cover, or in a very remote area like Arizona, where there's all this desert and mountains and terrain that no one lives on. So seeing these sightings in those type of areas where they're very sparsely populated, it just seems to me perfectly plausible. And again, these things would have regional variation, presumably. So you have the skunk, you have this Mogollon monster in Arizona, you have the Bigfoot, stereotypical Bigfoot elsewhere, and of course the abominable snowman, the Yeti, in these cold type areas where they have white fur instead. Yeah, so it makes perfect sense. That's what an animal would be. It would be adapted to its environment.
Yeah, and the Yowley in Australia is another one, another Bigfoot variant. Yeah, it seems to be that there's a lot of this stuff out there. Again, science wants us to believe they know all the answers, but how is it that they, knowing all the answers, they're discovering new things every day? So there you go. That's what I think about cryptozoology. So if you guys live out there, that's a happy coincidence. Do you have you had stories of this? Does anybody live near this area? Or okay, here we go. Fred says, "Yep, was hunting a few years ago. Heard a scream I wouldn't want to hear again." That's fantastic. You think it was this particular monster? Kind of like those Bigfoot screams we played back in the day. Yeah, we'd love to hear it, man. If you got insight, the Mogollon monster, 702-957-1037. Call on in. We'll put you on. We can talk about this particular cryptid, let's say, would be the word for it. But yeah, they go on and on. I've got tons more here from Arizona. We're talking. We went to Thunderbirds. There's the Mogollon monster. We're probably going to glaze over these because we're per usual. We have a ton of stuff and short on time. But what else do we got? Mogollon monster. Yeah. So I got the oldest documented sighting was 1903. In a publication known as the Arizona Republican, in which a gentleman named I.W. Stevens described a creature seen near the Grand Canyon as having long white hair, a matted beard that reached to his knees. It wore no clothing, and upon his talon-like fingers were claws at least 2 inches long. Upon further inspection, he noted a coat of gray hair nearly covered his body, with here and there a spot of dirty skin showing through. He later stated that after he discovered the creature drinking the blood of 2 cougars, it threatened him with a club and screamed the wildest, most unearthly screech. Interesting that Fred just said something. Here, I heard a scream I wouldn't want to hear again. There we go. We got some corroboration here, randomly. That's pretty cool. Yeah, and then Todd says, I don't know about a Bigfoot here, but if see the cave that the Smithsonian covered up. Yeah, I heard about that. That's the Grand Canyon, yeah? Down at the bottom of the canyon. They said there was a bunch of Egyptian artifacts, I believe. That's part of a good show, too. Maybe we'll throw that in the pyramid one. But, yeah, so what do you guys think? Mogollon monster? Believable? Not believable? There was an artist rendering. He looked a little more brown, but the descriptions here say he's got white hair. And the point being, though, is I wanted to bring it up that each area, like each small geographic area, they all have their own cryptids. Let's go back to antiquity. We're talking about the natives, cave drawings, and through the spoken tales that they tell, through the mythologies and the folklore. It's certainly a thing. It seems to be that either humans had gigantic imaginations, or there was something to this stuff. And as we learn more and more about anthropology and some of the old fossils, like how far back do these stories go? At which point does all this stuff converge? Like how many years are truly between now and then? You follow what I'm saying there, Frank? Seems like it's possible. It's very possible.
Yeah, for sure. We're discovering new things every day, and we really have no idea what's going on. Like, there's so many bizarre things out there, so many strange things, not even things that make sense. Like these Bigfoot and pterodactyls and whatnot, they kind of make sense from the historical record, the fossil record, but there's even bizarre, even more strange, boggle the imagination.
Yeah, exactly. A couple more comments here. Kelly says he was stationed in Maryland, and they have a creature there called a goat man. Haven't heard of that one, but again, you can pick any area pretty much and dig into the local folklore, and this stuff is out there, and it's been out there, and you talk about it, or you get a sighting, and you're a kook, you're a quack, you need help, you're a troubled mind, let's say. But yeah, it's again, calling people names because you don't understand what they say or saw or whatnot. Fred says, tales of him have been told here for my whole life. So you lived in Arizona for a while, huh? Yeah, that's perfect. That's the type of thing, you dig into it and you see the stories go back to, that was 1906, I believe, 1903, the early 20th century there. So, I mean, I don't know. Is it real? Is it real?
I have to wonder, okay, bear with me for a minute. All these national news anchors, right? All these people on CNN and Fox News and whatnot, they live in cities, in their, $1 million apartments in a city. There's no nature around. There's nothing to be seen. Maybe there's a park here or there, but there's no nature. There's no wild anywhere near them. And so when those types of people hear about these things, they haven't been out in the country. They haven't been out in the woods. They haven't been climbing mountains. So it doesn't quite make sense to them. But their opinions, compared to our opinions, are so overvalued as a whole that what they think becomes more important than what we think, because they have the reach, they have the viewers, they have the, the exposure. Whereas some random person living in the woods in the middle of nowhere, maybe his friends care what he says or her friends care what she says, but that's it. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of a it's proportioned differently, the attention people get. And I think too many people pay attention to these national news stories, not enough to the local stories. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's intentional too. So Fred says, exactly. If you say something, you're a wacko. And that's I think that's the crux here. We're talking about, you bring up anything anomalous and you're a tinfoil hat weirdo. And, you bring up crop circles or chemtrails, and you're a weirdo, right? But speaking of on that topic and weirdos, what about that Monsanto thing? Did you see that recently with the chemicals in the food? That was insane.
Didn't see that one.
Yeah, so Monsanto, they got nailed for so some guy sued him for Roundup. There was I forgot the name of the chemical. I'll look it up, but it was in this weed killer Roundup. And so this guy got cancer as a result of using this stuff. Super toxic. And so the guy sued Monsanto and said, hey, this gave me cancer. Well, he won. This was this week, $300 million or something like that. And so it comes out that this, not only is this chemical in like the weed killer, the Roundup, but it's in like Cheerios and stuff like what the hell's going on here? Like, and then if you said this a week ago, or 2 weeks ago or a month ago, then you're a tinfoil hat weirdo. Like, oh, don't be silly. This stuff doesn't happen. They don't poison Cheerios. Like, well, I'll find the article. But like case in point, like, go ahead. What'd you say?
It was the glyphosate they were finding in all these things. So
that's
I completely agree with you. Like, yeah, you would have been a crazy Alex Jones. They're putting, chemicals in the water to make frogs gay type person a week ago, but now that this news has come out, you're perfectly acceptable to talk about these things. And I think it would be the same with Bigfoot. As soon as like a month ago, now you're crazy. But if they find Bigfoot yesterday, well, you're perfectly fine.
Yeah, nothing to see here. Okay, you guys are right. Let's move on. But I mean, yeah. And then Kelly says Mothman is another good one. Yeah. So we kind of wanted to do stuff that wasn't heard about so much. We could have done Mothman and we did Bigfoot and stuff like that. But we thought Muggion and maybe the pterodactyls and some other stuff that don't really get a lot of press were good to talk about Maybe you guys hadn't seen him. And then Todd agrees. Mothman was a good movie. I like that. So, what's in my pocket? Chapstick. Ah! if you see that one, pretty good movie. Richard Gere in that one. But yeah, and there's a lot of factual stuff in that movie as well. Like that's probably a whole show by itself as well. If you want to dig into that stuff, the stuff that happened around Point Pleasant and Mothman. So yeah, I mean this stuff, anomalous stuff, critters. Like, before we knew they existed, like the Gila monster. It was one of those ones, it was kind of a fabled myth and legend type thing. But then they find it in some island somewhere. And they're like, oh, okay, well, I guess we were wrong about that. It just keeps happening. It's gonna continue to happen. But yeah, what else you got there? What are you gonna jump into, Frank?
Yeah, I wanted to look into some really weird stuff. So really crazy stuff that just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So I found a few examples, again in this cryptozoological vein, of stuff that is just completely bizarre. So pull up that slug mouse video. Do you have that one queued up?
I believe I do. One moment. We got a slug mouse, do we?
Yeah, let's play that. Let's loop that a few times.
Is that the one that washed up on the beach, or no?
No, that's the viral video UK example.
Oh, yeah, got it. Okay. Play the sucker, loop the sucker. Here we go. All right, I'll describe what's happening here. What the hell? It looks like a corn dog. What the? Oh my god. Okay, what we're looking at here is it looks like a, I guess you say like a caterpillar, but it looks like it has a tail. What the hell is this thing?
Exactly.
It's inching along like a caterpillar would, but yeah, that's a tail. What the hell? Yeah, I don't know. Again, if you guys want to see these videos and you're not catching this live or watching the audio or listen to the audio, you can find this stuff on troubledminds.org. We'll have the videos up there. So yeah, it appears to be a like a caterpillar or a slug or something, just kind of inching along, and it's got a tail. It's got a tail. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so this is, the perfect example. Like, I dug into this, I read about it. No one can explain what this thing is. It's completely bizarre in every aspect. It oozes along, it has the tail, it has what appears to be skin. Looks like there's kind of a weird shaped mouth on the front. So it really does look like a hybrid between a slug and a mouse. And again, like, there's just so much out there that we don't have an idea about at all. And this is, I think, a perfect example of this. This is bizarre beyond belief.
Yeah, it's creepy, that's for sure. A couple comments here. Kelly says, you seen the one little creature trapped in a trap in Mexico? No, you know what? Have not. There's so many. We looked at a bunch, tried to find some crazy stuff, but if you got a video, we'll throw it up real quick here. Fred says, steep country on the Mogollon Rim. Plenty of places a Bigfoot can hide. Yeah, there's a race, like an actual yearly race they have called the Mogollon Monster Race or something, where it's like a hiking thing. Like, yeah. Kelly's got a link here. I'm gonna grab it and pull it up. I'll give it to you first, there, Frank. But yeah, it's again, this stuff. It continues. It's one territory after another. We're talking Arizona. We're talking the East Coast, the West Coast. You name it. Oh, here we go. Oh, man. Kelly, these long videos. There we go. I'm going to have to go dig through and find this. Mysterious human-like creature found in Mexico. Oh, there we go. All right. So, Frank, about 3:15 in, 3:16. It starts showing this thing. Oh, yeah. All right, I'll pause the video right there. I've seen this.
What the heck is that?
Yeah, I don't know. Exactly. What the heck is that? So it looks like a small alien. It looks like something you'd see out of what's that? The movie Alien, like Ridley Scott, right? Is that who did it? But whoa. This turned out to be something, right? Didn't they do like a DNA analysis, or did this disappear and they couldn't? It was one of those. I don't remember, but yeah. And then Fred Daly says, "What the hell?" I think he's talking about the slug, the slug with the tail. Yeah. I've seen this one. I've seen this picture. I don't exactly know the story behind it. So that's one we'll look into. If you got details, you know what to do, man. 702-957-1037. Let us know. Because we didn't, obviously, we did research on other stuff. So thanks for the links. If you want to jump on and tell us about it, some of the background, perfect. We'd appreciate that. He says they did tests on it. Yeah, I thought it was something like that. Okay, so while our fire in the comments here, what else we got there, Frank? What are crazy videos?
Let's pull up the mutant pig creature with human hands that some fellow found on his property. This is a completely bizarre, just weird thing that I can't explain in any way.
All right.
Do you have that
human
one?
Hands, I do. And playing. Here we go. All right. So it looks like something floating in the water. Looks like maybe a dead rodent. It's kind of like a little bit fat. What? Okay. Now zoom in. It definitely looks like a pig. Like a pig's head, pig ears, snout, the whole deal. Let's see, digging him out of the water here. Video's about like a minute long. And its back looks all red, maybe like it got roasted in the sun. They're floating in the water. Again, if you guys want to see this stuff, it'll be on troubledminds.org. But okay, so we got that, and apparently it's got. Okay, so you see the hands right there. All right, I'm gonna back it. What the hell? I'm gonna back that up. Right there, freezing it. You can actually see. It looks like that's not a pig hoof. It looks like fingers.
They're hands, they're fingers, and not only that, the tail on this thing is straight. It's not curly in any way. So I don't know what the heck this thing is. If it's a mutant of some kind, or what it is, but that looks like a human hand on a pig.
It does. Yeah, the tail's straight. It's like a rat tail. That's pretty creepy. Wow. Yeah. So
it's a big one.
That's a big one. Autoplays kill me every time. But yeah. Wacky stuff, right? And again, this stuff, is it all fake? One more time, like every single time somebody says, "Oh, I saw a UFO," it's fake, right? Like it's easy to just say, "Yeah, it's fake. Get out of here. That shit's fake." But no, I mean, is it really? Like literally, if you say something like that, you're instantly crazy. Come on, guys. Come on, we're smarter than that. But yeah, like of course there's hoaxes. There's always going to be hoaxes because people want notoriety, they want exposure, they want to get over on the world or whatever. But I mean, in these cases, are they real? They look like coin flips to me. Like it could be real. This stuff could actually be real. I mean, the slug with the tail, that's a pretty great CGI job, right? It looks legit to me. Crazy.
Yeah, and the big thing about that is that vertebrates leave skeletons, and skeletons appear in the fossil record, but invertebrates typically don't, right? Because they just kind of melt away into nothing. So I think there's a whole category of invertebrates out there that we have no idea what they are, because when they die, they just decompose and they leave no evidence. So that slug mouse creature, that's terrifying to look at, and we have no idea what it is.
Right. Any ideas what that is, guys? What do you think? So O'Kelly says, so they did test on that creature in Mexico, that little alien-looking thing, and it tried to eat its hand off. Okay, that let's go ahead and say that's not normal. These are usually other food sources, but yeah. Again, if you got further details, man, you know what to do. Give us a call. What else you got there, Frank?
Let's go to the Georgia man finds strange creature washed up on beach. If we can pull that video up.
All right.
So I'll just set this one up because there's a few details, so just keep it looping. But basically, this guy and his son, who were in the Wolf Island National Wildlife Refuge in southeast Georgia, found this thing on the beach. He took pictures, he sent photos to media outlets, and he shared it on Facebook. I don't know what the heck this thing is. Can you describe what you're seeing?
Yeah, it's it looks like I don't know, like a maybe like a long, skinny piece of seaweed, I would think at first. But then it also looks like it has some sort of like puncture wound to it, so it's like kind of got like guts oozing out of it, right? So,
yeah,
so
I'd say so. It looks like it's been in a fight. Its intestines are leaking out.
Yeah.
But you know what this reminds me of is kind of like a Loch Ness monster dinosaur type creature. It's got the flippers. It looks like one of these Paleosaurus type, underwater dinosaur creatures. And there it is on the beach. You know, the two flippers, the long tail, the kind of neck that moves around, the long neck. Yeah, apparently, anyway, they went back to try to find this corpse, but it was gone. So, again, it could be a fake, or it could be that a hungry bear walked by and ate the thing up.
You know what?
Again, who knows? Who knows what this is?
On further review, it looks like the water's coming in behind this thing. Oh, no, okay, I guess the water's maybe lapping through. It looked like something's like wiggling on the front side of it, like it's moving, like something's still alive. But it could be like a stick or something. But yeah, creepy. It looks like and the thing that's unfortunate is we don't have a scale here. So is this thing like a foot long? Is this thing like 3 feet long? You know, because it has that Nessie, Loch Ness vibe to it for sure. A little bit weird. Yeah, and then Kelly says, why didn't these people grab these things and take it with them? Yeah, again, you know, like more of that those memes, you know, where like, there's a Bigfoot. If only I brought my camera today, or whatever it is. I'm not a comedian, but you get the drift. It's like every time there's something crazy to take a picture of, you don't have your camera, or you can't get it fast enough. And I can vouch for that. So I was in the desert yesterday, matter of fact, and so I was going up this hill, and if anybody's lived in the desert, they know there's crazy flash floods. They just come out of nowhere. So I'm driving up this hill, and out in the middle of nowhere, of course, I'm looking for, Bigfoot or, Mogollon Man or what have you. And no, what I get instead is it's barely sprinkling, just starting to rain. But up this hill, this flash flood just comes like flowing down at me like crazy. It's like 3-4 feet high and fast. And it comes out of nowhere. And so, I literally had no time. I would have loved to have got some video, but no, I wanted to survive. So I just flipped a U-turn and ran the hell out of there fast as possible. But if I was lucky, like another 5 minutes later, if I rolled up on it, I couldn't have got away. But, again, one of those situations, I would love to have footage of that. I would love to have video. I had my phone, but I wasn't going to hang around and wait, It's one of those type of situations that life moves fast. If you're not with your GoPro on all the time, things get missed. It makes sense to me, at least in that scenario. It's pretty scary. What else you got here, Frank?
Yeah, okay. Why don't we take a look at this birdfish creature that they caught in China? So I'll kind of set this one up as you pull the video up. But basically, they found this thing in the what province of China was it in? Guizhou? I can't pronounce these things. But it shows a fish on its side. It's still alive. It's kind of gaping in the air, and it looks like it has a bird's head and a fish's body. Very strange.
What the hell? It seriously looks like a fish with a bird's head. And it's moving. It's like mouth is like... Okay. Again, guys, if you're missing this, we'll be on troubledminds.org. You can see the video.
Yeah, kind of like a parrot's head and a fish's body. And they pulled it out of the water, a local fisherman, and they really had no idea what to make of it. There's been some speculation that it's a carp that was deformed in some way, but looking at that thing, where the mouth is almost at a 90-degree angle to where it should be, it looks like a bird-fish hybrid. It's very strange.
That's very strange. What do you guys think? Oh, so talking about the tentacles-looking thing, Todd says it's a plesiosaur. I think that's what they're called. That's Nessie. That's what they say Nessie is, right? The Loch Ness monster is one of those. I think that's the scientific term of what the Loch Ness monster actually is supposed to be. But yeah, it definitely has that vibe to it. And what do you think about the bird, the fish bird, the birdfish? What do you call it? Would it be a I don't even know. Let's name this thing, Frank.
It's still alive too.
It's still alive.
That's the creepy thing. It's not fake because you can see it gasping for air.
Yeah, thing's still living, trying to survive. A little bit creepy. What else you got? I got one wash up on shore. Hold on, let's pull this one up. You guys got comments on this stuff, you know what to do. 702-957-1037, talking about cryptozoology, talking about some of the wacky stuff you see in the world. And is this stuff just, Darwin gone wrong with, mutations? Or is this actual, new species we're talking about? Yeah, it's a little bit scary. Anyway, hold on. What do I got? I got a thing here. Oh, it's a picture. It's a picture. All right, so this article was... This thing was found in Russia on the beach. Here we go. Looking over. Okay, so it looks like a big blob of maybe white fur. It looks like possibly like an octopus with fur, or I'm not sure. It definitely has mass to it. I don't know. What did you think of this one, Frank? It's a furry something that washed up in Siberia.
Yeah, I have no idea what this could be, because you don't expect to see fur on ocean creatures, and yet it doesn't look like a bear or anything similar. So I'm completely baffled again. And again, we see these, like, you can imagine easily a big monkey. That's Bigfoot. You can imagine pterodactyl, because there's a fossil record for it. But some of these things, they just boggle the imagination. We have no idea what they are. And this thing, like, did you follow up? Have they done analysis on this? Have they looked into it any further?
No, yeah. So the article says, I don't think I got the notes on it, but so I'll brief the article. It says that they were trying to get scientists to come look at it. Now, this is in Siberia again. And they said they couldn't get anybody to take them seriously, and so they didn't even come out. They didn't send anybody out to look at it. And so here they are. You see the scale. So it's like a big blob of, like, looks to be like a white furry thing with maybe tentacles or a tail, or you can't really tell because it looks like it's maybe folded in on itself, like, like a dying pose, like a fetal position, but it's the size and scale next to the person standing next to this thing. This thing is huge. It's like, bigger than the biggest great white shark. It's maybe as big as a small whale. This thing is gigantic. I mean, look at the size of the person. That's just it's absurd, whatever this is. And if it's furry, I mean, again, what's furry that lives in the ocean? It's creepy stuff. No idea what this could be, Frank?
I have absolutely no clue. Like, there's just things out there, and I think that's okay to admit that we don't know what these things are, because we really don't. If we presume that they are one thing or presume that they're another, I think we're blinding ourselves to the possibility that there's things out there we don't understand.
Yeah, which, again, it's a taboo. We can't talk about that. Cryptozoology is a forbidden zoology. And, it's not official, again, until the corporations, academia, and the government tells us it is. So, yeah, who knows? Like, what kind of thing? So the only thing, I racked my brain. Like, okay, so what do I know that, like, looks like this? I don't know. The only thing I could come up with, stop me if you guys know what this is, but I thought maybe it was this. You guys know what that is? It's the only thing I could think of. I don't even know the name of this thing. It's from a movie. It's from I think it's called The Neverending Story. You seen this one, Frank?
Yeah, the big flying thing.
Yeah, the big, like, the dog head dragon thing. So if you look at it, right, and then let's go back over to the beach here. I don't know, maybe, did this guy crash out of the movie and land on the beach? I don't know. Of course, I'm making fun because it was the only thing I can think of in even in movies, even in fantasy. I just couldn't think of anything that was close to this, and there we go. So, there we go. Todd says Falcor. Perfect. That's what I'm talking about. So maybe did Falcor crash on the beach? I don't know. But anyway, if we can't get people to look at this stuff and actually do tests, and stuff like that happens, and they say that they'll come do tests and say, oh, it's a bunch of seaweed or whatnot, and Todd says he's a wish dragon. Oh, silly me! I should have known. But so we got a wish dragon washed up on the beach. I guess that's official then. But yeah, so obviously I did that in tongue in cheek here, but that's the only thing I could think of that was close. It looks like it might be a messed up version of that. Yeah. So anyway, there's Falcor, the wish dragon. What else you got, Frank? Anything crazy here?
I got one more, and I just posted it in the Discord. I think this is the one we were looking at the other day with the French people in the car. They're looking at a cow, and they saw something behind it on the road. I just popped that in Discord if you want to pull it up.
All right, you got it. Coming up. Yeah, this one's weird because it's moving like a, I'll let you guys see for yourself, but it's moving like something hunting. Here we go. Stop it. All right, here we go. All right, so what looks to be, we're looking at the road, and on the side of the road here, it looks like there's is that a pig, like a wild pig, just kind of chilling? And if you look over on the left side, something looks like it's maybe like on its front hands. It looks like hands, like a person. But anyway, here, play the video. It's super short. So it kind of comes out of the trees, and it's hopping around. That's moving weird too. But it almost looks like it's maybe coming after the pig, right? Standing on the side of the road. And the pig looks completely oblivious. Has no idea it's there. My first thought when I saw it, it looks kind of like a Gollum from Lord of the Rings a little bit, right? Like that, like a skinny type of humanoid type thing that's super emaciated and pale, like it would live in a cave or something.
Yeah, it's incredibly bizarre. Now, the only thing I could think that this is there's something that was captured quite a while ago. I'm just getting the image for you here. It's called the rake.
Oh, the rake, yeah.
This trail cam, the trail cam footage of this bizarre creature. I'll just pop that in the Discord for you. You can pull that up. But it's basically this kind of golem-looking creature that a trail cam caught. And there's some debate about whether it's fake or not. Basically, yeah, it kind of walks on all fours. It's skinny and emaciated, kind of like Gollum, from Lord of the Rings. I put that picture in Discord for you.
Okay.
And could this be it? Could this be the rake? The thing that people have been speculating about for years and years, finally caught on video? I don't know. It's, again, there's so many bizarre things out there that I don't know what to make of.
Yeah, there's a lot for sure. What do you guys think? One more time, we do this because we want to know what you guys think. Todd says he saw this posted on Facebook the other day. So yeah, I did see this also. But what do you think? Is it fake? Is this something that's photoshopped? Is this more BS, more CGI? The only thing to me that makes me suspicious about it is the way he moves. It seems a little bit otherworldly, I guess would be the way to put it. Like he's kind of hopping around without really moving his body too much. And here's a picture of the rake. I'm putting it up right now. This one came up in my Arizona research. So you Arizona guys, the rake apparently lives in Arizona. So keep an eye out for this guy. Pretty scary. All right, there we go. Oh yeah, you see it. All right. So the rake, same thing. Very emaciated, pale, big eyes, kind of humanoid, but leaning over like kind of on all fours almost. And I think this was a fast-moving one, right? I don't think I have the... Was there a video for this? Or is it just a picture?
No, I think
still, right?
that was the trail cam, like a trail cam in the woods. It just snapped this real quick. And this thing's peering at the trail camera like it looks like 1:44 in the morning.
Gotcha. Okay. So there's the rake. So maybe, is it that same thing? It looks similar. It's hard to tell the size of this thing versus the size of the other thing. We've got the pig for scale, and we're not sure how big this bush is next to it, but... Fred says crazy. Todd says looks like it's kneeling down. Could be a tall white alien. And Kelly says crazy too. Yeah, exactly. It does have that alien vibe a little bit. It kind of has like if you were gonna mix like one of those gray aliens with like say a monster from a monster movie. It's kind of what it looks like to me. Got the big eyes, but looks like there's teeth. Maybe it's missing a nose or yeah. So there's the rake. Lives in Arizona. You guys should be scared. Let us know if you get a picture. But remember the flood story. Don't stop to take a picture if you're going to get eaten. Make sure you get away first.
If this thing came ambling up to me in the woods, at 2:00 in the morning, I'm not pulling my phone out to take a picture. I'm pulling my gun out to do something else. Like
exactly.
I'm not stopping to interview this thing and learn about it. No. And then afterwards, I'm running.
Right.
It's dead on the ground. I'm running away because I don't want its friends to show up.
Exactly.
Like I only got so many bullets.
Exactly.
Like I'm not stopping to take this thing.
Maybe they hunt in packs, and he was setting you up. Yeah, you never know. Like, this stuff's crazy. So what do you guys think? Is this stuff legitimate? Is this stuff Photoshop? Is it fake? What is with this? Is there anything to this? So once again, if there is, fine, right? Oh, if it's fake, fine. But how come we have to wait for the government to verify? How come we have to wait for the Yale or Harvard to verify? Why do we have to wait for Google to verify, or Wikipedia, or any of these other knuckleheads? Who cares? It's like it's the illusion. They want us to know, or they want us to think that they know. It just seems all this stuff is suspicious. And of course, like we're tinfoil hatters, self-professed, but we're skeptical too. Like, again, we don't want to fall for everything hook, line, and sinker just because there's a video for it, or just because CGI, Photoshop, that stuff can be faked. So, I mean, I don't know. I think you got to take it case by case, and that's what it comes down to. But some of these pictures, man.
More importantly, I'd like some of these places to admit that they don't know. Like, they always seem to have the answer. They always seem to think it's this or it's that. But honestly, I just wish they would admit that they don't know. Like, even going back to the story at the top of the show, the NASA story about the debris, I kind of wish NASA would say, we don't know what this is. But no, of course they have to explain it away. They have to say it's a fragment of a rock or whatnot. But just admit you don't know, and then we can find out what it is together.
Exactly. I don't know is okay, but it seems to be that that's not okay for the powers that be. And Fred says, ads. Yep, whenever I'm out in the woods, I'm armed. Damn right, brother. That's what I'm talking about. You never know, man. This thing comes up on you. You don't want to be fighting back with, I don't know, like your fists and a bad attitude. Rather have some, good old Second Amendment action. But yeah, so we're winding down here, guys. We're a little over 2 hours, so it's that time. If you guys have any more comments or want to give us a call, you know where to find us, 702-957-1037. And if not, we're going to wind this down. Unless you got anything else to add in there, Frank.
No, I'm all tapped out, and you know what? It's too late at night. I'm kind of freaking myself out thinking about this thing out my window here. So yeah, I think I'm done.
I think you're safe though, because you don't live in Arizona. So like some of these other guys, maybe they should be looking out their window. I'm sure it's dark in Arizona. As always, guys, thanks for showing up. Thanks for sticking with us. If you got show requests, you know what to do. Send them social media here. troublemindsradio@gmail.com. Get us on Twitter, all the rest of these places. Yeah, that's right, Todd. I'm talking to you, Arizona buddy. make sure that noise you hear outside is something kosher, because you never know. But yeah, so again, thanks for sticking with us, guys. Fred, Todd, Kelly, we appreciate it. Miguel from early on, some of you guys that came and went, we appreciate all of it. The support is fantastic, and again, yeah, thanks for coming by. Kelly says, have a good night, everyone. Till next time. I agree. And yeah, so let's wind this down. You guys know where to find us. Tuesdays, Thursdays, Sundays, 9 p.m. Pacific. And we're going to be streaming. So find us on Facebook. Find us on YouTube. Find us on Twitch. And yeah, we can get together and talk about some wacky stuff. So in the meantime, we appreciate you watching. Thank you for sticking with us. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. I'm here with your co-host, Frank Pierce. And from our troubled minds to yours, have a great night.